of the things that like has been on my mind lately, because I've been interacting with a lot of young people that are in their early years of their like undergraduate studies, right? And trying to think about like what it means to live life in a way that is like kind of integrated and it doesn't become like a slave to this simplistic dichotomous worldview. And one of the sort of challenges that I've seen like most often is the tension between the desire to be right and like the desire to learn. And so like there's this idea that you're either right or you're wrong, right? So who wants to be wrong? We all want to get to like the right answer, but not everything in life has a simple, straightforward answer that you can just discover like when you want. Like you might be in an 8th grade physics class and want to be right, you know, just so much that your little heart's gonna burst, but chances are you're not gonna be able to prove whether light is a particle or a wave, and you're not gonna get there. So in a sense, you have to learn how to be able to deal with some gray area, some ambiguity, some uncertainty, and recognize that you might be able to take steps along the way. So you have to start to learn to measure your progress in terms of movement or like advancement. I'm saying like, well, this is what I understood when I started. Now this is what I understand like after having spent some time together, learned some things. That's gonna be infinitely more valuable to you than the approach of thinking that now all you have to do is memorize the right answer and like you've attained. And so trying to help young people start to think in that way is pretty challenging when you live in an environment that is like really intensely trying to suggest that one model is like the one and only way that things should be.
At one point we were talking about success and failure in a similar light. And success and failure is really funky because like nobody wants to fail. So when you set it up, you either succeed or you fail, then like you have to deal with like, you know, a huge percentage of the time you actually have to look at yourself as a failure. So it sets you up to automatically feel bad about a learning process that is natural to everything. A baby starts walking and falls. Are we gonna be like, dang, what a failure baby that is? Like, no. Baby walk fail. Like, really? Is that how we would label that? So like this idea of like fail, like as just like this, it's what we all do, but we all, because you're either right or wrong, it's like you're going to now ignore or deny that you failed ever, or just try to sweep under the rug entirely, because now it's like you want to be successful. It's like it just sets you up to either be a hypocrite or a liar.
It gets into this weird ego thing where it's like, I don't want to admit that I'm wrong because then I look bad because you're always supposed to be right. This gets pretty intense, man. Like one of the best skills I learned was to be like, I don't know. Like when they ask me something, I don't know, dog. Go ahead, we can look it up together. Maybe we might not ever know, but I sure don't, and I have no need to pretend that I do. If it's something that we need to figure out about, we can learn about it, and that's a good point.
Yeah, and so like, I don't know, we're talking about learning, we're human beings, we're here to learn. We don't come here perfect. As far as I've known, as far as I can tell, none of us get perfect, no matter how much time we have to work on it. So like, this breaking up of these concepts into these like dichotomies only seems useful to a certain point. So within education, they break the subjects into the little different categories, right? So you have English over here, you have math over here, you have science over here, you know, and so on, you know, geography, etc. But they break them into these little groups, and it's really useful as long as you're like working on grammar, just to understand, you know, the way to use the language, etc. But it's not like you're not using English in science class. It's not like you're not using language in your math class. And it's not like you're not using math in your science class. But somehow, like when you leave them in those little rooms, it's like, oh, I'm not good at math, but I'm great at science. How?
Does that make
Yeah, how does that make any sense? Oh, I'm garbage in English, but I'm great at mathematics. Well, how do you describe mathematics? What language do you use then? Just numbers? I don't think so. Like, pretty sure, so.
What do you do when there's word problems?
Exactly. Logic, etc. So, like, to a certain extent, it's, like, helpful to break them up into little groups so that you can kind of start to interact with those things and learn what their function is. But when you leave them apart and behave like, you keep moving forward and you're understanding, believing that they are fundamentally separate things, and that's when it seems to get really, like, counterproductive. It seems to get, like, really, like, jacked up.
Well, thanks for asking. My experience with dichotomies goes a long time back.